Welcome back. If you're new to the Brain Warriors Way podcast, the Brain Warriors Way podcast is really based on the book you and I wrote together, The Brain Warriors Way.
Right, which is based on mastery.
We love the whole brain warrior concept. And the idea behind it is you're in a war.
Right.
And never more true
right.
than now. Watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and it'll clearly give you the idea.
Well, and we just came out of, we're not even out of the pandemic yet. We've been quarantined. People are getting sick. The social uprising, the political nonsense, it's clear.
That you're in a war.
Especially for your mental health.
Everywhere you go, someone is trying to shove bad food down your throat that will kill you early. That we often say the real weapons of mass destruction are highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber food-like substances stored in plastic containers.
But now I actually feel like the news is neck and neck, if not ahead.
Well, the news, in fact, in the next episode, we're going to talk about something called Doomscrolling. And so if you have the bad food, you got to ask yourself, why has America been hit so hard with the coronavirus, including coronavirus deaths? And I would submit it's because we're one of the unhealthiest places on earth, with 72% of the population overweight, 42% obese, diabetes or pre-diabetes affecting 50%, 50% of the population, that hypertension actually affects 60% of the population is hypertensive or pre-hypertensive. This is not okay. And in the Brain Warriors Way, we talked about the answer to these epidemic problems is not to see them as single or isolated disorders, but to see them as the same expression of the unhealthy lifestyle that we have been gifted by our society. And if you're going to survive and thrive, you have to become a brain warrior. And in the book, we talk about this concept of mastery, where M is mindset. Are you a sheep or are you a sheepdog? Do you follow the crowd? Do you do what everyone else says? Or do you think for yourself? Are you highly trained? And pets now completely need to be sheepdogs. And you're my favorite sheepdog.
Thank you.
Right? We have a beautiful white shepherd. He's not a sheepdog. He's a therapy
He is
dog.
the sweetest thing ever.
Aslan, come here. For those of you that are watching, we'll introduce you to Aslan.
This is Aslan.
He's so sweet. But
doesn't have an aggressive bone in his body.
He's
though.
A therapy
and
dog.
Sheepdogs are gifted with the gift of aggression, just like wolves are. The difference is their intention. So
they're for protection. And the A is assessment.
Yeah.
That you have to know. That's why we do imaging at Amen clinics, or you can go to our brain health assessment and know your brain type and how healthy your brain is. We also say, and the beginning of the year is a great time to get your important health numbers checked. Like, your best defense against COVID is your immune system.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been working the hardest on, because that's what got hit so hard for me. After 10 surgeries for medical issues and going through so many treatments and having the cancer come back and all the medications they put me on, I knew when I heard about COVID, I'm like, okay, immunity is my strongest defense. But immunity is my strongest defense.
Right. So a good vitamin D level. BrainMD has a new product we love, NeuroC. It's a liquid vitamin
It is
C,
a liposomal vitamin C, which is the important type of vitamin C to take.
Along with smart mushrooms and happy saffron, which by far my favorite Brain MD supplement. I take it every day.
But it contains zinc, right?
It contains zinc.
So that's another important one.
And saffron, a brand new study out showing that saffron actually attacks the spike protein that is found on COVID-19. So your best defense is your immune system.
And I'm shocked that people, they're still studying people who get COVID, especially the ones who get it really badly, that don't have it like a cold, right? That get really sick and get hospitalized. They're still finding that these people are low in these nutrients, that they're low. And I'm like, we have such an ability now to spread this news. So for the average person, these supplements aren't expensive. And for some people, we get it. For some people, they are. But I feel like, we need to do a better job of making these available to everyone, because this is going to save us so much in the long run.
The S is sustenance, which we talk a lot about, eating the right food. So avoiding the weapons of mass destruction. And basically think of a plate, as many plants as you can put on that plate that are colorful, high quality protein, healthy fat. Lots
of fiber.
And fiber. Fiber is just so good to strengthen your gut health. And your
feeds, it's got prebiotics. You want the right kinds of fiber too, which if you're eating the right food, you're going to get it. But you want to be feeding those good bugs in your gut. So you not only need the good bugs in your gut, you got to feed them. And fiber does that.
The T is training. You have to train your brain. You have to train your mind to do the right things.
Right.
And so
I often say, one of the reasons that I chose the metaphor of a warrior when I was sick and I felt so weak and I felt like I was out of control, my life just felt out of control, was because I thought, what is the opposite of me? Because I need something the opposite of me right now. And so I latched on to this idea of being a warrior, because I was just so fascinated with, just the sheer power and ability and agility of these people that protect us. And so that's kind of what I latched on to. And one thing when I started practicing martial arts that you learn is, warriors don't show up on fight day and think they're going to win unless they've been training every day. And so that's how you need to think about your health. That's how you need to think about your mental health. You don't show up on fight day when there's a war going on and think you're going to win if you have not been training every day.
E is essence, which is basically, why do you care?
Right.
It's you wrote most of that chapter in the book. It's about turning pain into purpose.
Which is why I wrote my book, the one that just came out, The Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. It's about using those terrible stories, the things you've been through, your trauma, to be someone else's transformation.
R is responsibility. Brain warriors are responsible, that you are modeling health or you are modeling illness by your behavior. Now, responsibility, as Tana always says, is not about fault or
It's not about blame. It's about the ability to respond.
Right. But let us not forget, it's not just about us. It's about generations of us. When a baby girl is born, she's actually born with all of the eggs she'll ever have. So when you had Chloe, you are actually carrying the genetic material of your grandbabies. And this is so important to think about. That's why we need to be brain warriors. And why is years long. This isn't a program to lose 10 pounds. This is a program to get control of your brain and your body for the rest of your life. And so, once you're a warrior, you don't stop being a warrior. It's something you take in. And as I'm 66 now, that as I get into my 70s, 80s, 90s, I need to be more serious about my health, not less serious. Yeah. I love my 4 children and my 5 grandchildren, but quite frankly, I never want to have to live with them. I never want to be dependent on them, and I don't want to be a burden. But the only way that's going to happen as I go into my older years is if I take good care of myself.
And I did a great video recently with Natalie, who is the director of our social media, and she's amazing. The minute I met her, I knew I had to hire her. She, at 15 years old, broke her neck and she's a quadriplegic, not was, is. And so find an inspiration. So she's one of my people that I look to for inspiration, because it's hard, especially in a pandemic. There are days like I'm constantly in pain, which I never had before. So I've got constant back pain now. I won't take anything for it. It's just who I am. And there's this tendency to want to go, okay, I'm going to baby this. I'm going to give into this. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to protect myself. I don't want to cause more damage. But whenever I think I can't do something, or I'm not going to do it today, I always think of Natalie. Natalie is a quadriplegic, and every single day she gets up and works out. They told her she'd never walk again. She can walk with a walker across a room. I mean, she's astounding to me. So whenever I think I can't do something, I think of someone like Natalie, and I'm like, I can do something. I may not be able to do everything. I may not be able to do what I normally do. I can't go do karate today, but I can do something. So find someone that inspires you
on what you can do,
and
right?
find a mentor.
And that's the mindset of a brain warrior.
Right.
And so just basic training for brain warriors: mindset. Are you a sheep or a sheepdog? Assessment. We have to assess our brains and our bodies. Sustenance. What you eat matters. Training. We have to train our brain to look for what's right rather than what's wrong. Essence. Know why you care. Responsibility. It's not about you, just about you. It's about generations of you and years long. It's not for 6 weeks. It's for the rest of your life. What did you learn? Write it down. Post it on any of your social media sites. # Brain Warriors Way podcast.
So Relentless Courage of a Scared Child, out this week, January 5th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you either take a screenshot of this, if you are watching right now, take a screenshot of this, or you can go to relentlesscourage.com, get a screenshot of the website with the cover on it, tag 10 friends, send it to 10 friends, tag them, then tag me at Tana Amen, or you can go to brainwarriorswaypodcast.com and send me, a message there, letting me know you tagged 10 friends, show me that screenshot. And for the month of January, I will send you a signed copy. Welcome back. We are talking about doom scrolling. This is so important going into the new year, because we are talking about how do you get your mental health together. If you want to get your physical health together, you need to get your mental health together, because it really starts with your mind. It starts with your mentality, and just really getting your mind right. So doom scrolling is affecting your mental health, and most people suffer because of what is not only on social media, but the news. So let's talk about doom scrolling. That's one thing I learned.
So think of doom scrolling like pouring toxic doom and gloom thoughts into your brain. Mm-hmm. The constant frightening images activate the brain's fear centers, the amygdala, making you feel chronically anxious and afraid. Information is like crack. Brain imaging research in a 2019 issue of PNA found that information triggers the dopamine-fueled reward system in the same way as food, money, or even drugs. The authors suggest that this neural mechanism explains why we are susceptible to clickbait. Doom scrolling is like clickbait on steroids. Neuroscience shows us that the human brain is wired for negativity and pays extra attention to anything that might harm us. In a survey from the American Psychological Association, 56% of people said that regularly following the news causes stress. That's just following the news, not even close to the obsessive clicking and consumption that comes with doom scrolling. Over time, elevated stress hormones shrink the memory centers in your brain, increase inflammation, and put excessive fat around your waist.
So this is so true. And I know I'm one of those people who's really susceptible to what's on the news. I get very triggered by negative news and frightening news. And so why are you looking at me like that? So I had to learn, you have that look, you have that shrink look right now. So I had to learn to discipline my thoughts and not, and turn the news off. And I grab headlines from a more neutral source, but I don't listen to the news. But one thing I like about social media, I really don't spend time scrolling because I don't have time. I go on my own page, I answer questions, I pay attention to that, but I don't spend a lot of time scrolling. But for the few pages that I do follow, you get to choose. Like, hello, people, you get to choose who you follow. So choose wisely.
Doc Amen.
Right. So choose wisely.
Or Tana Amen.
So I mostly follow mental health pages.
Stuff that helps you, never things that hurt you.
Right. So I choose to follow pages that are about mental health, that are about inspiration, that are about, those types of pages.
Well, every morning I start with the Good News Network.
I know, they're funny.
Because I just want to know what's right in the world, where you bring your attention. Always determines how you feel. If you focus on what is fearful, you'll feel afraid. If you focus on what's horrible, you'll feel awful. If you focus on uncertainty, you're going to feel off. And if you focus on what you're grateful for, you're going to feel happy. And who you appreciate, you'll feel appreciative. And you have to train your mind, because your mind evolved or was made, however you want to go with that, to pay attention to what's wrong, to what protected you from the tiger. So when you wake up, your default mode network that we've been talking about is like chattering about safety.
This is one of the reasons I think pets help people so much. Because if you're in a bad mood, like if I listen to the news and I get really angry, but my dog comes over, I have the most amazing dog. He comes over, he's like a therapy dog, right? And he comes over and he's just always so loving, so gentle. It takes my mind off of it. If I go outside and watch the hummingbirds, those of you who are nature lovers, see there he is, he's got his nose up in the, he's just amazing. But I think people who have animals, they start petting their dog and their mind starts to shift away from
their heart rate variability is
right.
better.
And so I think that's one of the reasons people who are animal lovers have that, they know what we're saying. It's like, oh, just take a minute, pet your cat, pet your dog. It really has that ability to shift your attention.
So, one thing, I have no financial interest in the Good News Network, but find a way to start your day with what's right rather than wrong. When my feet hit the floor in the morning, I always go, today is going to be a great day. And then my mind finds why it's going to be a great day. When I go to bed at night, I think to myself, what went well today? And it's my favorite exercise because I'm always finding super cool things.
And it sounds so cliche to say, find something you're grateful for, but don't just find something that you're grateful for. When I first wake up, I think about something I'm grateful for, but I've trained myself to think about very small things I'm grateful for, because I think that's one of the things I learned in 2020 was, being grateful that we're going to Europe. Okay. That's going to set you up for it to be very sad, but being grateful for small things, all of a sudden that can make you very happy. Being grateful that your family is healthy. Even though you lost your dad, you're grateful that your mom is healthy. Even though if you can start to
grateful
focus,
he was my best friend
right,
for the last 5 years. You and he were
right.
my best friends.
And so being able to focus on some of the small things, being able to focus on the fact that, we've got a roof over our heads, that, my dog is, this amazing creature that brings me happiness, and focusing on some of those little things, no matter, I think the smaller, the better. And
stop the doom scrolling. That I think that's really the point of this. So what can you do to stop it? If you want to kick your doom scrolling habit, set time limits for scrolling, no more than 15 minutes at any time. Add good news to your daily scrolling. Make it a rule to start and end your day with some positivity. Go on an intermittent information fast.
That's funny.
mentally unplug from your news source on a regular basis. So turn off the alerts because the alerts will just interrupt you all the time. If you're tempted to send a snarky reply to a post, say stop and count to 10 before hitting the send button.
Or here's one. Here's what I do with that. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for your opinion.
Set up blocks and filters on your devices. If certain news sites or social media sites are particularly distressing, block them. Make your bedroom a technology-free zone and don't use devices right before bedtime, or it may make it hard for you to sleep. So eliminate doom scrolling. So we know the podcast is doing really well if we have people outside the grocery store with posters go, eliminate doom scrolling. We are so grateful for you. And as you go into 2021, you got to get your mind right. That this is the most important part of you, your brain, because it controls everything you do, and your mind, where you focus determines how you feel.
So I'm so excited. Relentless Courage of a Scared Child is coming out this week. And as a gift, as a thank you to all of you for your support, I want to give away signed copies. But to do that, what I would like from you is either take a screenshot of this right here, those of you who are watching, or those of you who are listening, you can go to relentlesscourage.com. And what I need you to do is take a screenshot. So anybody who sees it, take a screenshot, tag 10 friends. If you do that, and then you either tag me at Tana Amen, or you go to brainwarriorswaypodcast.com and send me that, send me a screenshot, let me know you've done that. I will send you a signed copy.
What'd you learn today? Post it on any of your social media sites. Write it down, post it, and hashtag Brain Warriors Way podcast. What you've heard me say a lot is the end of mental illness will only begin with a revolution in brain health. Brain warriors, you revolutionaries, you're going to help me end mental illness by creating a revolution in brain health. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We are now well into 2021, and we are talking about brain in the news today. So I want to start off with the dark side of ADHD, suicide, and the pandemic.
Wow.
We're into 2021. Pandemic's not over. Very important to really discipline your thoughts and focus on your mental health, because that is going to be the thing that really helps you. But the dark side of ADHD. Adults with ADHD were much more likely to have attempted suicide than those without. So 1 in 4 women with ADHD have attempted suicide. 60%.
Wow.
Yeah. 60% of the association between ADHD and attempted suicide was attenuated when lifetime history of depression and anxiety disorders were taken into account. Probably meaning maybe they didn't get help, I'm guessing. Female gender, lower education, attainment, substance abuse, lifetime history of depression, childhood exposure to chronic parental domestic violence were found to be independent correlates of lifetime suicide attempts among those with ADHD. Wow. This was in PubMed.
Well, let's take a minute and talk about...
Let's break that down.
ADHD during a pandemic.
Yeah.
So, how do you know if you have ADHD?
Well, in a pandemic, one of the tricky parts that I would think of is conflict seeking would be a problem. If you are locked in a house with people and you are conflict seeking, because that's one of the signs of ADHD.
So I was just on Dr. Phil, where Jessica, 18, completely out of control, anger, she'd been Baker acted, that's in Florida, where involuntarily psychiatrically committed on several occasions. The police have been called.
So is that what we think of as a 5150?
5150 here in California. And, you know, they wanted help from Dr. Phil. And when Dr. Phil saw this case, he goes, I need a co-therapist. So it was really cool being Dr. Phil's co-therapist. Yeah. And when we scanned her, it was so clear she had untreated ADHD. In fact, she'd been diagnosed when she was 6 with ADHD and learning disabilities, but because her parents got divorced and she went back and forth,
she fell through the cracks.
She fell through the cracks and ended up with a terrible temper, with being conflict seeking, barely finished high school, and had lost like 5 jobs, like Taco Bell and Wendy's and McDonald's, in a period of just a couple of months.
And this is a really pretty girl.
Of these failures,
right?
And she has low frontal lobe activity, common in people who have ADD. Had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, put on an antipsychotic, lithium, and I'm just like horrified that the primary underlying problem for this child, short attention span, distractibility, disorganization, procrastination, restlessness, impulse control, addicted to her phone, and vaping. And it's like, we don't treat her ADD. There is no way she's going to get better. And when you have that kind of stress and repeated failure, suicide and ADHD begins to make sense.
And then on top of that, they're very spontaneous and impulsive.
Right. And it's not unusual to have a suicidal thought.
Right.
It's not unusual to go, you know, I'll be glad when the whole thing is done. But
it's unusual to act on it.
But it's unusual to act on it. But if you have impulse control issues, and then you'd like
and you're super angry at someone. Oh yeah, if you drink, it goes down more.
You then take the break off of
the little bit of break you actually have.
Negative impulses, and it can cause.
Well, and right now, let's add that to a pandemic where people they already have increased stress, and increased stress makes it worse, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got increased stress. We've got people fighting. So they're angry with people in their houses, especially if they've got ADHD and they're conflict seeking.
And people with ADHD, conflict seeking, but also negative seeking. Mm-hmm. They look for what's wrong. And they don't know they're doing it. That's the interesting thing. It's completely unconscious.
So we have someone in our family. I'm not going to mention who it is, but who a really wonderful person, tries so hard, does so well at so many things, and does not realize that she actually just has this very dark cloud sort of following her, looks for the negative in everything, and without really trying tends to end up sort of doesn't try to be conflict seeking, but causes some conflict with it by this constant negativity. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so but I can see that it's not intentional. Fortunately, I think because of our training, we can see that it's not intentional, but it can be challenging for people who don't know that.
And so it's very important, if you or someone you love, short attention span, distractibility, disorganization, procrastination, impulse control issues, restless, get assessed, because the treatment that I'm going to do with Jessica, I'm pretty confident if she does what I ask her to do, I'm going to change her life, get it going in the direction that makes her happy, makes her proud of herself. But without it, the consequences of untreated or ineffectively treated ADD are death. Mm. They're job failure, school failure, divorce, incarceration,
pregnancy, teenage pregnancy,
more tickets, more accidents, more bankruptcies because of the lack of
very negative effect on your self-esteem.
And ADD has nothing to do with intelligence. No. That a lot of people with ADD are super bright, but they don't live up to their potential, which gives them a really
or
low
even people who do
self-esteem.
okay. Like I remember I was pretty successful, but I did not realize how hard it was. Like I thought I was fine. I thought ADD was just an excuse. It's nonsense because I was pretty successful. At you, I thought it was ridiculous. Like I thought it was ridiculous. But once I realized, oh, the 2 pots of coffee aren't normal. Everybody doesn't do that. Or needing to work out for needing to work out for 2 hours to clear the cobwebs. That's not normal for everybody. Needing to work in really high stress situations just to feel normal. That's not normal. Once I realized and started to really treat it in mostly holistic ways, but there are times where I take I can't really take a stimulant, a traditional one, but there are things you can take that help you stimulate your brain that aren't stimulants. Once I understood that, I actually didn't realize what my potential was. That's the thing, is you don't realize what your potential is until you actually start meeting your potential. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I've written 10 books and,
One more brain in the news. Bright light therapy for seasonal affective disorder. When our brain senses light from the sun is gone, it signals the creation of melatonin in the pineal gland. Of course, at 5 p.m., few in the modern world are ready for bed. For some, using light lamps to trick their brain to thinking it's daylight. At BrainMD, we have a great Bright Minds light therapy lamp. And light therapy has actually been found to be effective for seasonal affective disorder. I use it for so many of my patients to improve their mood, their focus, their energy, and to help them sleep. 30 minutes in the morning, all it takes, and it's just so simple. I'm pretty excited about natural ways to heal the brain. I mean, that's really what we want for you. So between light therapy and get your ADHD treated, we hope you found this episode helpful. If you learned something, please write it down, take a picture of it, post it on any of your social media sites. If you go to our sites, we posted a video of me doing an evaluation of 90210 actress Jenny Garth. She came in for memory problems.
She's so cute.
A gazillion views now. And
she's really cute.
It was really a fun evaluation. So make sure you check that out, as well as this is the launch month for the Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. You can go to relentlesscourage.com. If you pre-order or order the book, I guess by the time this comes out, order the book. There are a whole bunch of downloads that Tana has for you.
Bunch of gifts.
Stay with us. Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to answer your questions. The first question is, can anxiety be treated holistically? If so, how? Now, before we answer that, if there's anything you learned today or really strikes you, write it down, post it at any of your social media sites. Also, leave us a comment, question, or review at the Brain Warriors Way podcast, and we'll enter you into a raffle to win either Tana's new book, a signed copy of Tana's new book, The Relentless Courage of a Scared Child, or my book, The End of Mental Illness, whatever you choose. All right. So what do you think? Can anxiety be treated holistically?
Absolutely. So we've got teenagers in the house, and we've got me. And so during the pandemic, when I started to get really anxious, I wasn't sleeping at night. And I know it's one thing I like about our work is anxiety is not one thing. So knowing what type of anxiety you have, what's causing your anxiety, is really important. So going to brainhealthassessment.com and taking a very quick, short assessment will really help you understand. So for me, I can't take 5-HTP. It makes me feel stoned. So I don't like that feeling of like walking through mud for me. Now, the kids in our house who have very busy brains, they take that, they feel great. They actually feel normal. But for me, when I take GABA at night, I sleep like a baby. When I feel anxious, I don't take it all the time, just when I'm anxious. I'll take some GABA, and all of a sudden I don't say no as much. You've noticed that.
I love that. That is stress management for me. So how you treat my anxiety holistically is treat Tana with GABA calming support. And
I remember the first time I took 5-HTP, and I felt like I literally, I was like walking through mud. I was like, what is happening right now? And you loved it. You loved me feeling stoned, but I just couldn't. It was the wrong thing. I just
love you being more flexible.
Well, flexible was one word. Not being able to talk is a whole different thing.
Without the judgmental dragon pounding on my head.
Right. But
boom,
but
boom,
but
boom.
GABA does that for me without the whole
I love that
spinny thing.
Also, other ways to treat anxiety holistically: kill the ants. Not believing every stupid thing you think. I used to be filled with fortune-telling ants where I'd be masterful at predicting what was going to go wrong. And I mostly have that under control. I think that's critically important. Diaphragmatic breathing. Do not underestimate getting your breathing under control.
Yeah. Meditation.
So important. Hypnosis, meditation.
Exercise.
Music. We have a new music album coming out in March called Your Brain is Always Listening. And there's a whole track for anxiety, another track for stress. Another question, what's the difference between the different types of ADD that I've seen? So I wrote a whole book about this called Healing ADD. There is classic ADD, short attention span, distractibility, disorganization, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. So that's classic.
And that's why I didn't believe in it.
Well, type 2, more common in women, inattentive ADD, where they're never hyperactive or impulsive, but they can't focus and they tend to be disorganized. Type 3 is over-focused ADD, where they have trouble letting go. And if you can't shift your attention, ultimately you can't pay attention.
Shifting attention is what I struggle with.
Type 4 is temporal lobe ADD, often from a head injury where you hurt one or both of your temporal lobes. So all the ADD symptoms plus mood instability, irritability, temper problems. Type 5 is limbic ADD, with all the ADD symptoms plus sadness. 6 is the ring of fire, way too much activity going on. So you can't concentrate. And 7 is anxious ADD, where the anxiety in your brain really sends interrupt signals to your frontal lobes and you can't focus.
And so just to give people an idea, because I write a lot about things about, my journey in my book, and a lot of people have been resonating with that. So over-focused and anxious, that combination is not uncommon for women.
Very common.
So that's what I had, was over-focused and anxious, which is why I didn't believe in ADD. Because I believed it was one thing, classic. But it's not.
And that's a big mistake,
right?
Because not everybody responds to the typical ADD treatments. But when you treat everything that's going on, you should, you can just get so much better. And that's why we just celebrated our 15th anniversary of being together. And yeah, you're my best friend.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful. Another question. What supplements do you take every day?
Oh, geez.
Dr. Amen and Tana.
Mine is probably too long of a list for this episode, but.
Well, mine is Nervite Plus and Brain and Memory Power Boost, mostly because I did a randomized placebo-controlled crossover trial with Brain and Memory Power Boost, and it dramatically improved memory and focus. It actually decreased hostility. So I'm pretty happy about that. I also take 5,000 units of vitamin D. I take niacin, extra niacin, curcumins, and omega-3 fatty acids.
So I take all of that. But then I also take, there's things you take individually. So we always say get your numbers checked because I have to take ferritin on top of that. So I take ferritin.
And I can't take ferritin because my iron level's too high.
It's very independent and individual. I take supplements for my eyes, and I can never pronounce it right. Is it zeaxanthin for my eyes because it really does.
Astaxanthin. Sorry.
Yeah, so I can never pronounce it. For eyesight, it really does help. And I take berberine. I think berberine is amazing.
I take that too because it helps balance your blood sugar.
And probiotics.
And I do that too.
Yeah. But my list actually goes on. Most of them are very specific to me, but those are some of the big ones. Yeah.
All right. One more question.
You said fish oil, right?
And fish oil.
Yeah.
What's your favorite meditation?
So I like my favorite meditation. Once in a while, I'll do, just being still and breathing and focusing on breathing. But mostly I like guided imagery, which I can do myself now. I used to need to listen to someone else do guided imagery, but now I actually focus on more of a mindful. I do it myself, focusing on mindfulness, bringing my attention, to my feet and then bringing it up and focusing on my breath. And I have sort of little mantras that I say along the way where my breath is at. And so for me, that really, really settles me. I think of prayer and meditation very similarly. Prayer is where I'm talking to God. I get all of that stuff out of my head. Meditation is where I'm listening. And so that's my favorite form of meditation, is just being very mindful of where my attention is, where my breath is, having those little mantras that I do, and then setting my day with intention for the day.
So I have two meditations. I like loving kindness meditation. Super simple. On Brain Fit Life, I actually do one for you. It's all 4.5 minutes long. And a Kundalini yoga form of meditation called Kirtan Kriya. It's a 12-minute meditation where basically you do sa, ta, na, ma, which are primal sounds that actually mean birth, life, death, rebirth. Birth, life, death, rebirth. Birth, life, death, rebirth. And 2 minutes out loud, 2 minutes whispering, 4 minutes silently to yourself, 2 minutes whispering, 2 minutes out loud, 12 minutes. Significant benefits, including brain benefits, strengthens your frontal lobes. And anytime you can strengthen your frontal lobes, you want to do that because that's the part of you that helps you be human. So we hope this week has been helpful for you. We're going to have a whole nother year of Brain Warriors Way podcast. We're going into, I think, what is it, our 4th year or 5th year?
5th year.
Wow. So we've done more than 800 episodes, and share it with any of your friends. We want to create this Brain Warrior community because we know the end of mental illness will begin with a revolution in brain health, which requires Brain Warriors. Stay with us.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're interested in coming to Amen Clinics, use the code PODCAST10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.